Can India refuse intellectual property rights to a country that doesn't protect Indian rights? Can a country say, if you treat me unfairly, I will treat you unfairly? International law claims equality, but in reality, it often operates on reciprocal terms. I will treat you how you treat me. You treat me well, I treat you well. But does it also work the other way around? And if global law is based on equality, why does reciprocity still control outcomes? Let's decode this in today's episode. Hello, welcome to Law at Ease, your safe space to understand the law clearly, calmly, and confidently. I am Advocate Nandini Jaiswal. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 3, where we break down the principle of reciprocity in international law. So let's get started on our journey from legalese to ease. So, what is reciprocity? Reciprocity is one of the oldest operating principles in international law, sometimes written, often assumed, and almost always practiced. Under the World Trade Organization, reciprocity is not a legal rule. Instead, the system is built on two key principles: national treatment and most favored nation, MFN, which essentially mean you must treat foreign nationals like your own, and you cannot favor one country over another. Formally, reciprocity is replaced by non-discrimination. So it seems. At its core, it simply means states exchange benefits conditionally. If you give me market access, I give you market access. If you protect my rights, I protect yours. But here's where things get interesting. Reciprocity is strongest in trade, diplomacy, extradition. For example, in extradition law, countries often surrender an accused person only if the other country offers the same reciprocal cooperation. But when we move into intellectual property law, the picture changes completely. Here, reciprocity becomes the weakest, at least on paper. In practice, however, reciprocity has not disappeared. It has simply changed its role. Tariffs, market access, trade concessions. These are still negotiated on reciprocal terms. So reciprocity has moved from being a legal obligation to a negotiating strategy. Now, the Berne Convention does allow limited reciprocity. Under the rule of the shorter term, a country can limit copyright protection based on the term granted in the country of origin. So, if a work is protected for 50 years in its home country, another country is not obligated to extend it to 70 years. Another example is the resale right royalty suite. Authors can claim resale royalties only if their home country recognizes this right. Countries may also restrict protection for authors from non-member states, or adjust protection based on how a work is classified in its country of origin. Now let's step into the real world for a moment. In 2018, the United States imposed tariffs on Chinese goods. China followed a dual strategy. It imposed its own tariffs and also approached the WTO against the United States. This dispute, United States, tariff measures on certain goods from China, highlighted the tension between law and practice. And this brings us to an important distinction. Reciprocity is a negotiation. You give, I give. Retaliation under WTO law is supposed to be a legally authorized response. But in global politics, retaliation is often immediate and not always legally sanctioned. The WTO, however, does have its limits. It cannot eliminate political strategy. What it does do is prevent discrimination. In the US, clove cigarettes dispute, the United States banned clove cigarettes while allowing menthol cigarettes. The rule appeared neutral, but its impact was discriminatory, and that is why the WTO struck it down. The bigger shift happening in reciprocity is bilateralism. We now see it increasingly through bilateral agreements, where countries negotiate access, protection, and benefits directly, one to one. But even here, strategy doesn't disappear. Though global systems promote equality, in practice, negotiations often return to reciprocity. Think of it like this. You go to a market looking for a rare antique, and finally, you find it. But the seller says, I'll give you this antique only if you give me your watch. That is reciprocity. Access becomes conditional. Control becomes strategic. Reciprocity dominates trade in goods and services far more than it does intellectual property. But that leaves us with a few important questions. Why is reciprocity restricted in intellectual property? Why can IP protection not be made conditional? And why can rights not be denied based on another country's behavior? This is all about the principle of reciprocity in international law. Thank you for listening to Law at Ease. If the law felt complicated before, I hope it feels clearer now. Till next time, let's keep the law simple.